Hi and welcome to Magic Numbers. This is episode number 172. We're getting closer to the Magic 200. And this week we are looking at the best that 2025 had to offer to us in terms of limited Magic, of course. And I'm just not arbitrarily picking things. That wouldn't be so much not on theme. I'm actually using data for most of the categories to try to show what was the best of the year. And just a reminder, this show is sponsored by you, my patrons, and thanks for your support, and I'm really happy for that. Let's move on with the episode. Wouldn't be myself if I didn't start with the preamble. And I picked this picture, not completely by accident. The picture shows Poison Dart Frog. And the preamble is, best things are those things we like, not what other tells us we should like. And this is because even in the limited content creation world, I think that people are often bullied into ignoring their own opinions and bandwagoning with whatever the big content creator is telling. And, you know, I'm one of the, not big, but okay, some content creators. So I'm contributing to that. I assume that some people will tell something because I tell them, well, data says that it's like that. Today, we're going to be giving away a prize for the best set of the year, for example. Now, I can tell you what is the best removal spell based on data, and whichever removal spell has the highest win rate is going to win it. But I cannot tell you based on data what is the best set. And I think that a lot of people have to feel compelled to say something that is not controversial. There is also other group that feels compelled to say something for the sake of being controversial, which is another set of problems. But I think that a lot of people will not be true to themselves and will say that they enjoy something that they maybe enjoy less than the other thing because they would feel afraid of giving their opinion. And I think that we should be more courageous in expressing what we like. And I definitely picked the set that I liked. And I put this preamble because when I was picking the set that I like, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should change the order because, I don't know, I will feel deficient if I don't put this particular set higher because everyone seems to be so high on that. And I said, like, who cares? I'm making a podcast about the sets that I did like. Why would I lie about it if I liked something less than other people? I probably should say, and I should probably give you good reasons for why that happened. But then, in the end, I decided to stay true to myself and then just say whatever I care. And the picture, by the way, the Poison Dart Frog is there because of this Magic player who plays Constructed and who has always a Poison Dart Frog in their sideboard. Which means that they limit their sideboard to 14 cards just to put that Poison Dart Frog. Because they like that Poison Dart Frog and they feel like it's their companion animal. And we're not talking about some Billy and Vampire, to quote Ham TV. We're talking about someone who actually won the RC recently with 14 cards in the sideboard because one slot was occupied by Poison Dart Frog, which could be put in from the sideboard, but their deck was red-black, which means casting a green Poison Dart Frog would have been a bit of a stretch. And this is the person that really does what they really want to do and doesn't care about the others. And it's amazing and courageous and brave. And also it seems to work because the mental support Poison Dart Frog did take down the RCQ. So yeah, there we go. And as I said, today I wanted to do a bit of a retrospective of what was happening in Limited in 2025. And to do so, I thought I will pick some quite obvious categories, like best common, best uncommon, that kind of stuff. But also some of them that are a bit more fancy. So we're going to go through best bomb, best signpost uncommon, best removal spell, best sweeper, most underappreciated card, most overrated card, and I think my favorite category, I spent way too long time to try to figure out the most mid card of the year. And then we're going to move to a bit more vanilla categories. So best common for each color, best uncommon for each color, and also for colorless. Whoop, whoop. And also best set, which is going to be arbitrary. And Sherkovitz Special Merit Award for bringing me joy. I'm going to look at 5 cards, each of them from a different set of this year, and I'm going to pick one that actually brought me the most joy. But I'm going to celebrate all 5. Okay. The methods I'm using. So for those of you that are regular listeners, you know that sometimes I compare between sets. And normally comparing between sets is tricky because I cannot just take a win rate of Final Fantasy and compare it with win rates in Edge of Eternities. Because, for example, the average win rate of those 2 sets can be slightly different. And because it's slightly different, cards that are bang in the middle in one of those sets are going to be above average in the other one. So I use some mathematical trickery to bring the averages of the win rates for both of those sets to 50%, which is basically when you have the win rate distribution of one set, I'm going to move it a bit this way or a bit that way, depending on what's important. Because average win rate of 17 Lands users is around 55, most of the time I'm going to drag it closer to 50%. I did it since Midnight Hunt, and I compared all the sets since Midnight Hunt, and I used the normalization as I did since Midnight Hunt. I decided to skip Spider-Man set, not because it was poor, which it was, but because pick to draft is too different. So I wouldn't be able to do certain analyses for Spider-Man because of the differences in ALSA, for example. The packs were built slightly different because of how smaller the set is and stuff like that. And we have 1,484. I know by heart the number, but somehow I wrote 74 on the slide, but it was 84. That are in contention for the prizes. These are all the cards from the 5 sets of this year. So Ether Drift, Tarkir Dragonstorm, Final Fantasy, Edge of Eternities, and The Last Airbender. All the cards that had a large enough sample size to have a game in hand win rate. Some cards, they were not played, or some cards were on those rare bonus sheets and did not make enough numbers to get the game in hand win rate. These are excluded from the contention for the prizes. But if they have not been played enough, then probably there is a good reason why they were not, and probably they wouldn't win the best prizes at least. Maybe they would be competing for the worst. So just to give you the idea of, I also, apart from normalizing those win rates, I also have brackets of win rate where I assign grades. And just to give you a brief look on how it looks like, 7 cards of the year had A+ in my scale, 28 of them were A's, 34 were A-, and then we have like roughly 160 B+, B's, and B-. I have 166 C+, 260 C's, 240 C-, 185 each of D+ and D's, and then 80 D- and around 30 F's. So that's how the distribution looks like. It's a bit skewed, which means that it's not a normal distribution, because in the normal distribution, the peak would be around B- and C+. I designed my grades that the peak is somewhere around C, C-, because I think that this is where the median card ends up because of how rarities work, really. Because in fact, we are not looking at a single distribution, but we're looking at different distribution, because commons will have their distribution, rares will have their distribution, uncommons will have their own distribution, and superimposing all 3 on them creates this kind of curve. Also, if you are used to the win rates on 17 lands, you might be in for a surprise, because of course, average win rate of 17 lands user is 55, which means that 55% win rate card will not be anything impressive on 17 lands data. But because I moved the average to 50%, 55% is actually a very, very high win rate in this. This is going to be a win rate that is B+, A- in that range. So if you see something that is above 55%, this card is really, really, really strong. And of course, if you see anything above 50%, that card is above average. Okay, so without further ado, as I said to the chat on Twitch, but also at home if you're listening at this podcast, you might think to yourself, I wonder what won this category. So make yourself an exercise and try to guess. For each of the categories, I'm going to give 7 nominees. And these 7 nominees are the cards with the highest win rate in a given category. So yeah, think about it, and then you can see how good you are in guessing. And for the best, and also nominees, I always sorted alphabetically, and I chose the on the card name as a priority. So for example, here we have Fire Nation Tank Train, which is a reprint of Noxious Gearhulk. It counts as an F, not as an N. Doesn't really matter that much, does it? But we have Dragonback Assault, Tarkir Dragonstorm, 6 mana enchantment, deals 3 to each creature and each planeswalker, and it has landfall ability. Whenever land enters, you create a 4/4 dragon creature token with flying. Then we have Fire Nation Tank Train, so Noxious Gearhulk, 4 black, artifact creature, 5/4 menace, and when it enters, destroy another target creature. And you, if you did destroy something, you gain life equal to its toughness. Then we have Jeskai Revelation, a 7 mana spell that does a lot of things, among them dealing 4 damage to any target, making 2 monks with prowess, drawing 2 cards, gaining 4 life. It does a lot at instant speed, and it's also from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Then again from Tarkir Dragonstorm, we have Marang River Regent, 6 mana, 6/7 flyer. When it enters, you can bounce 2 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. And if that was not enough, it is enough, by the way, but if that was not enough, it also can be cast as a 4 mana instant draw spell. You draw 3 cards and discard 1. Then we have Sapsunen, 5 mana, 6/6, reach, trample, indestructible, can't attack or block unless it has an even number of counters on it. And then at the beginning of your turn, you put counters on it, and then you draw cards every second turn. It does a lot. It does a lot of things. Next to last one, Ugin, Eye of the Storms. 7 mana Planeswalker. It says 7 mana win basically a game, but it will last a very long time. When you cast it, you can exile a colored permanent, +2 to gain 3 life and draw a card, 0 to add 3 colorless mana, and -11 to put every colorless permanent from your deck onto the battlefield, and without paying their costs. And last, not least, but last, Urani, the Song of Unending, 8 mana, Timur rare, also from Tarkir Dragonstorm. And it's a flying protection from white and protection from black, 10/10. When it enters, it deals 10 damage, divided any way you choose among any number of target creatures and on planeswalkers, equal to the number of lands you control. And we have a couple of guesses. One chat member is calling for Jeskai Rev or Tank Train, and someone else is calling for Sapsunen. Now, all of those cards are busted, and I want to specifically stress that 5 of them are from Tarkir Dragonstorm. And also, which is, I think, a good thing, is that 6 out of 7 of them are mythics. Which is great, because I think that the best bombs should be mythic. You don't want to have one of the top 7 strongest card of the year being a rare. And Marang River Regent was pretty much atrocious in that aspect, because you saw it way too often in drafts. But the winner is Noxious Gearhulk, with 61.4% win rate. Jeskai Revelation close second at 61.2%, and Sapsunen third at 60.9%. So I think that the chat guesses were pretty good. Because when we think about it, if out of those 7, there's really like top 4. So Noxious Gearhulk, Jeskai Revelation, Sapsunen, and Ugin, Eye of the Storms. And then slight drop off, and we have Marang River Regent, Dragonback Assault, and Ureni at 60.5, 60.3, and 60.1. Again, you may think that those numbers are low, but I remind you that the numbers are low because of the normalization of the win rate that I did, and I sort of pulled them down. If you look at the 17 lands, they will be probably closer to like 65, 67% game in hand win rate. So yeah, Noxious Gearhulk, still game after all those years. Still a very strong limited card, so I can only imagine how strong it was when it was originally printed in Kaladesh. In a plane formerly known as Kaladesh, I wonder if we are going to rename the set to Avishkar retrospectively. So congratulations to Noxious Gearhulk, and also congratulations to Tarkir Dragonstorm, which was a fine set despite this stupendous amount of very powerful bombs that it had. And I played with most of those cards in this year. I definitely played with Marang River Regent. I played with Jeskai Revelation. Sabsunan cost me 2,000. Well, cost me money because I got eliminated from the Open by Sabsunan, so I don't have particularly strong feelings or warm feelings towards that card. Ugin, I also never drafted it, but I did play against it. But I cast all the others apart from Noxious Gearhulk. And yeah, they did very well, and they were very powerful, and most of the time if you cast them, you won the game. And Jeskai Revelation, I managed to even cast 3 times in one game, and still ended up that same game with one Jeskai Revelation in hand. But the opponent was already dead, so I didn't need the 4th one. 3 turns out were enough. But okay, congratulations chat, and congratulations Noxious Gearhulk for winning that category. Okay, let's move to the best signpost. We go down in power level from this pinnacle of the top bombs. And now we have the category for best signpost. Okay, so let's move to the nominees in the best signpost category. Of course, best signpost means best multicolored uncommon. Because some sets were 2-color themed, some sets were 3-color themed. There is a mixture of 2-color and 3-color cards in the list. And first we got Biomechan Engineer from Edge of Eternities. 2 mana, Simic, a 2-2. When it enters, you make a lander. And for 8 mana, you can draw 2 cards and create a 2-2 robot artifact creature. Then we have Gustal Thrillseeker, another 2 mana, this time in Rakdos. A 2-3 from Ether Drift. With Start Your Engines, and when the creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target opponent and you gain 1 life. And then when you have max speed, this creature has Death Touch and Haste. So if you cast it on turn 2, it increases your speed to 2 automatically. If you cast it late, sometimes it will be a 2-3 Death Toucher with Haste for the meager amount of 2 mana. Then we have Honda Network, also from Ether Drift. That's 5 mana. You create 2 flying 1/1 Thopters, and then chosen player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. So at worst, drain 2, gain 2, or you drain 2 and make 2 1/1s. In the best situation, I cast it where I was draining for 9, and it was also within the range of the card. Then we have Carrot Cake Guardian, also known as Carrot Cake Guardian. A 6 mana 6/5 dragon with flying, vigilance, trample. This one is from Tarkir Dragonstorm, so it's in Timur color combination. And it has hexproof if it hasn't dealt damage yet. So yeah, it was very hard to deal with, especially when the opponent had a couple of those. You better have blockers for those dragons, because you cannot even kill them in any way unless they block with it or use a bite spell or something. So it was really, really hard to deal with. Then another card from Timur Tarkir Dragonstorm, Sonic Shrieker. 2 and a Mardu for a flying 4/4 dragon, and when it enters, it deals 2 damage to any target, and you gain 2 life, so it drains 2, but it can also target a creature. And if a player is dealt damage this way, they also will discard a card. So you could use it as a very powerful version of Corrupt Court Official, or you could use it as a bigger creature, smaller removal version of Flametongue Kavu. Pretty strong. Then we have 2 cards from Ether Drift, Thundering Broodwagon, a 6 mana vehicle in Golgari. It's a 6/5 Menace Reach vehicle with crew of 3. When it enters, you destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. And it has cycling for 2 mana, so you can actually put it in the graveyard and reanimate in some way or the other, instead of just casting it for 6. And the last we have Veteran Beast Rider, also from Ether Drift, a 3 mana Selesnya, At the beginning of your end step, you can untap each creature you control, so it sort of has pseudo-vigilance for all the team. And for 4 mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So like a supercharged version of the Water Tribe Captain if you're playing Avatar. And our winner is Thundering Broodwagon. Congratulations, Teams Running. You got it correctly. But yeah, 54.8%. That's why I told you 55% is a very, very good win rate in the normalized data set. Because Thundering Broodwagon, the best signpost, doesn't even reach the 55. But yeah, Tim's Running nailed it, and it actually has a big advantage over the rest of the field. Sonic Shrieker, which also someone guessed in the chat, was second with 54.4. And then we have Biomechan Engineer at 53.9, Gastel Thrill Seeker 53.7, Haunt the Network 53.6, Veteran Beast Rider 53.6, and Karakek Guardian at 53.3. But they're all pretty close with each other, outside of the 2 outliers in Thundering Broodwagon and Sonic Shrieker. It's worth noticing that unlike in bombs, where the cheapest card on the bombs list was 5 mana in Subsunan, and actually most of them are 6, 7, even 8 mana. Here we have a good mixture. We have some 2-drops. We have the Biomechan Engineer and Gastel Thrill Seeker. We have a 3-drop in Veteran Beast Rider. And then we have the more expensive cards, Honda Network, Shrieker, Karakek Guardian, and Broodwagon, all 5 and 6. So there's a good mixture of cheap and expensive spells in best signpost category that are in those top echelons. But congratulations to Thundering Broodwagon for being the best signpost of the year. Now, best removal. It was a hard one because so much of the removal is tied to a creature right now, and I didn't know how to really calculate them. It was so complicated. I decided that I want to go with a non-creature spell somehow. And it was still hard to say what is literally a removal spell and what is a multi-purpose thing that does multiple things. Because all of those things, they do multiple things. But in the end, we got to... I selected all those non-creature spells that counted as removal, and the list of the nominees is Awaken the Honored Dead. That's Sultai, 3 mana, Saga, and the first chapter says destroy target non-land permanent. Then it mills some cards, and then you can discard a card from your hand and return target creature or land from your graveyard to your hand. It's actually played and constructed in the Sultai Reanimator decks nowadays. Second, and this one was definitely pushed in terms of I said no creatures, but this is technically a non-creature spell, but it does make a creature, so I let it slip because I did like that card, and it got me some really nice interactions with pro players in the previous season when they disagreed with me that this card is busted, but it was busted, so I was right. Thank you very much. Choco Comet. Red, and X deals X damage to any target, and I think that this is the main power of that thing. It's just the fact that it can go face. And then also you make a 2/2 bird creature with whenever a land you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So, the Chocobo ability from Final Fantasy. Then we have Dubious Delicacy. 3 mana flash artifact in black. When it enters, it gives -3/3 to target creature until end of turn. And you can sacrifice it to gain 3 life, like food, because it is a food. And you can also sacrifice it to drain 3 life from your opponent. Oh, not drain. To have opponent lose 3 life. Because it's not a very good food, and some people might lose life by eating it. Then we have Heartless Act from Avatar. So, destroy something with no counters or remove counters from target creature in black. Inevitable Defeat. 4 mana, Mardu colored, exile target non-land permanent. Its controller loses 3 life, you gain 3 life, so this one drains 3. And also can be countered. So super better Dubious Delicacy, but at the cost of extreme mana requirements. Perilous Snare, 3 mana artifact from Ether Drift in white, with Start the Engine. And then when this artifact enters, you basically do Oblivion Stone, And if you have max speed, you can tap it to put a counter on target creature or vehicle you control at sorcery speed. And last, we have side quest Hunt the Mark. This is also a bit dodgy because this can flip into a creature, but it's very hard to achieve, so I said, okay, why not? 5 mana, when this enchantment enters, destroy up to 1 target creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, if a creature died under an opponent's control this turn, create a treasure. If you control 3 treasures, you flip it into a 5/6 angel that can gain indestructibility. And I see some guesses. Actually, most people guessed Choco Comet, but it's not Choco Comet, it's Perilous Snare, and actually by quite a lot. So Perilous Snare has 55.7, Choco Comet has 54.2. And then we go Dubious Delicacy 54, Inevitable Defeat 53.8, Awaken the Undead 53.7, Side Quest Hunt the Mark 53.2, and Heartless Act 53.1. So quite a big advantage of like over 1.5 percentage points for the Perilous Snare. And I think that the card was just hard to deal with, and the ability to put counters was actually activated relatively trivially in this set. Another one that is playable and constructed, by the way, because it's played in the Azorius Artifacts decks. So congratulations to Perilous Snare. It turns out putting loot in a cage pays off. All right, everyone's favorite card type is the Sweeper. And we do have a category for the best Sweeper. The irony, of course, is that Edge of Eternities was a set with 11 Sweepers, and yet none of them made the list in terms of the nominations for that category because they did not have high enough win rate. We do have Black Sun Zenith from Avatar Special Bonus Sheet. We do have Day of Black Sun, which looks suspiciously like Black Sun Zenith, but does something very different, even though it has exactly the same mana value and mana symbols on the card. This one exiles creature with mana value X or less, and they lose their abilities, so you basically kill all the death triggers from them as well. Then we have Death Begets Life, which is an 8 mana sorcery, destroy all creatures and enchantments. Draw a card for each permanent destroyed this way. So most of the time it's going to be like kill everything, draw 5 cards or something. Then there is Nibelheim Aflame. 4 mana, your creature of yours deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. So you sweep everything but it. And also you can flash it back for 7 mana. And then if you flashed it back for the flashback cost, you can discard your hand and draw 4 cards, which by that stage hopefully means you just draw 4 cards. Pretty powerful. Then we have the Rise of Sozin from Avatar. It's a Wrath that destroys your creatures, and then you can surgical extract your opponent, and then at the end you flip it into Sozin, which is also a 5/5 menace. Whenever it connects, bring back the graveyard of your opponent under your control, more or less. Scavenger Regent, 4 mana, 4/4 flying ward, discard a card, dragon. But it has Exude Toxin part of it, X black. 3 of the 7 cards have X black X cost in their mana value. And Exude Toxin, each non-dragon creature gets -X until end of turn. And then lastly, we have Volcanic Torrent. 5 mana for a sorcery. It has Cascade, and Volcanic Torrent deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker your opponents control, where X is the number of spells you've cast this turn. And of course, because you Cascade, you're going to cast the Cascade first before that resolves, which means that it hits for a minimum of 2. And if you can engineer a turn where it deals 3 to everything that your opponents control, which is a pretty good ability. That's why it made the top 7 list. So I see guesses in the chat are Nibelheim, Aflame, and Sozin. It is the Rise of Sozin. The Rise of Sozin at 59.9, which actually was just 0.1 away from being in the race for the nomination for the best bump. Why do I have 7 cards nominated in each category? Because I did the bombs first, and I decided, oh, with the bombs, I'm just going to pick everything that is over 60%. And indeed, that's what I did. Everything that is over 60%. And there were exactly 7 of those cards. And then I made this nice slide, and I thought, all right, that fits well on the slide, so I'm going to do 7 for all the other categories as well. And that's why we have 7 of them all. But yeah, Rise of Sozin at 59.9, a whole 2.6 percentage points above Nibelheim Flame. I have to say, chat, you've been killing it. I mean, I think that all the guesses were... depending on how many guesses there were, you hit top 2 or top 3 cards in the classification without a miss. Third place is Volcanic Torrent, which is a bit maybe surprising to you, but that card is very powerful at 56.2. Then we have Death Begets Life, Black Sun Zenith, Scavenger Regent, and Day of the Black Sun. So 3 cards have Black X in their casting cost, but they are also a number 5, 6, and 7 in our classification. But congratulations to Rise of Sozin. Sweet card. I played it multiple times and had fun every single time. And I also know for a fact that my opponents did not, which is great. And that brings us to the most underappreciated. And here maybe it's worth explaining how I calculated what is underappreciated. There is a link between the alsa of a card and its win rate most of the time. The lower the alsa, so the earlier the card is being picked, normally the higher the win rate. Because cards that are picked early, people pick them early because they are good, and therefore there is this correlation between those two varieties. But some cards are going to be winning a lot and still taken a bit late. So that's what I measured here. For each card with alsa below 3, because I assume that if a card has alsa above 3, which means it's picked in the first 2-3 picks most of the time, that card is not, it's not underappreciated if it's always picked first in first 2 picks. So it has to have the alsa below the 3, and then the delta between where it is based on alsa and where it should be based on all the other 1,000 and whatever 485 cards are. This is going to be the one that's most underappreciated. And the list is: we note a Journey in Order of Forces from the bonus sheet in Final Fantasy. Celestial Colonnade from Edge of Eternity special bonus sheet. It's a creature land in Azorius. Then we have Gastel Thrillseeker, one of the previous nominees for the best signpost, but it was also a signpost that was going pretty late because Black-Red was not a particularly good color combination, but Gastel Thrillseeker was an excellent card in a maybe slightly less powerful color combination. Inspired Ultimatum from another bonus sheet in Tarkir Dragonstorm. The irony, of course, is that Inspired Ultimatum was not even the best 7-mana Jeskai non-creature spell in the set, as Jeskai Revelation was better than it. But still, Inspired Ultimatum was slightly undervalued. That's a card from Ikoria, so you gain 5 life, deals 5 damage to any target, and then you draw 5 cards. So a lot of value from there. It's like 5 for 1 or something. Then we have Invasion Submersible, a humble uncommon from the current set. Hopefully you still remember what it does. And then Thundering Broodwagon, another of the signpost nominees. This one was also going pretty late in the draft, partially because Golgari was not super good, partially because 6-mana multicolor spell, people were maybe not that keen on picking it too early. And another of the previous nominees, Volcanic Torrent, from the Avatar bonus sheet. So, this is probably the hardest one to guess, maybe apart from the most mid card. That category is so good. And some people said Colonnade, some people said Invasion Submersible in the chat. But the answer is Volcanic Torrent. And Volcanic Torrent is winning 7.2 percentage points more of the games than it would be from the expected win rate based on its alsa. And the second place, very close to it, We Not a Joiner Forces at 7. Then we get Inspired Ultimatum at 5.7, Thundering Broodwagon at 5, Gustle Thrill Seeker at 4.9, Celestial Colonnade 4.8, and Invasion Submersible 4.7. So really, Volcanic Torrent and We Not a Joiner Forces were shoulders above the head and shoulders above the rest. But I think that important part of this category is that strong hypothesis, looking at generally which cards are in this category, is that this shows the power of modern content creators. I'm talking about, Lords of Limited, Core the Calls, limited resources. They will rarely cover bonus sheets, and bonus sheet never gets like too much coverage in content, and people see it very infrequently. And combination of all those factors means that those bonus sheet cards can sometimes fly a bit under the radar, because maybe it's not just worth learning about how good they are because you see them so rarely, especially Volcanic Torrent from Avatar, when you see one bonus sheet card per 26 packs, if I'm not mistaken. And the same with the Winota in Final Fantasy, or this Inspire Ultimatum from Special Guest bonus sheet in Tarkir Dragonstorm. These cards will be rarely seen, and because they're rarely seen, people don't know exactly how to react. How much of the ability to play the sets we build by listening to content and by actually learning how cards play by experiencing them, this is amazing. But it even makes the Gastel Thrill Seeker, Invasion Submersible, and Thundering Broodwagon much more impressive that they were underappreciated. What is it about those cards that makes people underappreciate them when they were absolutely amazing and yet going pretty late in the draft? Now, of course, ALSA as a metric is very different from every single other 17 lands metric, because all the 17 lands metrics, the win rates, the pick rates, the play rates, they are based on 17 lands users. ALSA is the only metric that is based on arena population as a whole, because how late the cards go depends not only on the players that use 17 lands, but also on everyone in the pod, and majority of the players in the pod will not be the users of 17 lands. So maybe Invasion Submersible was severely underappreciated by the less invested players that don't use 17 lands. I think that 17 lands users very quickly knew that this is a generational uncommon in terms of power level. But congratulations to Volcanic Torrent. You did win the most underappreciated card, even probably most underappreciated than you can, because it also was seen so rarely, so really underappreciated, because there was not even a lot of opportunity to appreciate it. And the converse thing, I was planning to do most overrated card category, and I also was planning to do the worst card category. And then I did both of them in terms of graphs, and I realized, that's basically almost the same thing. So I decided to keep the most overrated and skip the worst card of the year. Although, spoiler alert, the same card would have won both. So, here we have cards that were picked highly, potentially because of the rarity symbol, because people will pick rares sometimes, but also they were played, which means people, when they pick rares, even if they pick them for being rares, they tend to put them in their decks. And they didn't deliver, and they had horrendous win rate. So a lot of Final Fantasy here, because we have Etir and Priven, 6 mana equipment, equip 5, creature has a base power XX, where X is your life total. The Dream, of course, is making a 20/20. Reality is probably making a 3/3 for 11 mana of investment, so that's the problem. Still, it's pretty good to open it in paper, because they sell quite well for a decent price. Then we have, what is it called? Ishai from Final Fantasy bonus sheet. A 4 mana 1/1 flyer And whenever opponent casts a spell, you put a counter on it. It has partner, which is dead in limited, so no one cares about it. Then we have Bioengineered Future. When its enchantment enters, create a lander. And then whenever a creature you control enters, you put X +1/+1 counters on that creature, where X is the number of lands that entered the battlefield under your control. So sort of like ramp counters built around in Edge of Eternities. Then we have Emmet Selch, also known as Kirik, son of Yawgmoth, from the Final Fantasy bonus sheet 2. 7 mana 2/2. Love to see that stat line. It does have lifelink, and 3 of the 7 mana it costs is in Phyrexian mana, so you can actually pay 4 mana and 6 life to cast it for a 2/2 lifelinker. And whenever you cast a black spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on Critic or Emmet Selch in this particular case. Then we have Fire Crystal, one of the red of the crystal cycles, again from Final Fantasy. This one, it basically makes the Reflection of Kikijiki ability. So for 6 mana, you can copy a creature you control and then it dies at the end of turn. And red spells cost 1 less to cast. The Masamune, that card trophied me the pre-release, by the way. I didn't play it in my deck. Thank you very much. I sideboarded it in because I thought my opponent was perfect for perfectly equipped not to be very good against Masamune. Equipment, as long as equipment creature is attacking, it has first strike and must be blocked if able. Yeah, so it can sort of create this situation when it turns the board into Abyss. But it's expensive to equip. And then Unstoppable Plan, 3 mana enchantment from Ether Drift. At the beginning of your end step, untap all non-land permanents you control. So sort of like Reclamation, but doesn't untap lands, which makes it not very much a Reclamation. So I think that the guesses in the chat are for Kirik and Fire Crystal. But in fact, it is the Unstoppable Plan. Turns out that the plan is very much stoppable. And mainly stoppable by the fact that the card does plain nothing. Fire Crystal, at least, maybe sometimes will copy a creature. Happy times. Aether and Previn. So these cards are... so Unstoppable Plan is 14 percentage points below the benchmark value of where it should be based on where it was picked. Fire Crystal is 12%. Aether and Previn also 12%. Bioengineered Future and Masamune and Kirik -10. And Ishai Ujatai Dragon Speaker at -8.5. So these cards were horrendous, all of them. Also, a bunch of them are from the bonus sheet, the Ujatai and Kirik. A lot of them from Final Fantasy. And I think Final Fantasy, part of that set's charm, I guess, is that there was a lot of junky rares in there. There was a lot of rares that were just absolutely unplayable. Very attractive for Commander players, but not playable in Limited at all. And a lot of them are those kind of... they offer a dream. But that dream is a crap dream. But a crap dream that is appealing to maybe newer players. And I think that this is like one thing that binds them. And also, like, some of them were still from the bonus sheet. And there were generally a lot of those bonus sheet cards are either underrated because we don't have enough experience to figure out that they're great, or overrated because, ooh, that's a bonus sheet card. Probably there's something good because why else would they put it on the bonus sheet? Well, spoiler, sometimes they put very, very bad cards that are absolutely unplayable on those bonus sheet cards. But congratulations, quote unquote, for Unstoppable Plan. For being the most overrated card. Also, the worst card of the year. That's, as I said, I made the worst card of the year category, and 5 of the 7 cards on that list were also in the worst card contention. So I thought I'll skip you a repetition. And finally, we have the most mid card. And what does most mid mean? I decided to define it as a card that in its rarity has both the ALSA and the win rate as close to median, so being in the exactly 50% of all the values as it's physically possible. So I took all the cards, I calculated their percentiles in terms of win rate based on rarity. So I did separate one for commons, separate one for uncommons, because you can't really compare commons and rares in the same kind of analysis. It's going to be problematic. And then I looked at the ALSA, and also I checked which percentile is ALSA. And if a card was 50th percentile win rate and 50th percentile ALSA, it would almost assuredly win the most mid card. I calculated via Euclidean distance. You don't need to really know what Euclidean distance is, but it takes squares of the values, and it's the smaller the square, the most likely, the more mid the card is. And our nominees are Bard's Bow from Final Fantasy, the 3/3 reach equipment, Callous Inspector, which always makes me think of feet for some reason when I hear that name, the 1/1 from Avatar Lastbender, Ilvoid Galeblade, a 1-drop from Edge of Eternities, a flyer, 1/1 flyer with flash in blue, Jeskai Devotee from Tarkir Dragonstorm, that's the devotee that can fix for Jeskai colors, shockingly. Then 2 lands, Omashu City and Rugged Highlands from Tarkir Dragonstorm, both of them red-green. Draw from it what you may, but these were 2 most mid cards in this year. And lastly, Wandering Musician, the 4-mana 2/5 in Boros. Whenever it attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0. And the chat is guessing Bard's Bow or Omashu City. It is Omashu City. Congratulations, Tim's running. You're on a streak. You guessed the most mid cards. Wandering Musicians were close second. Ilvoid Gateblade, Jeskai Devotee, Bard's Bow, Rugged Highlands, and Callous Inspector. I think that one thing you can learn from there, and I looked through many, many more cards that were close to being the most mid at common level, is that a lot of them were those lands, especially in Timur colors. So Timur lands normally are on the higher end of the power level in terms of the common non-basics. So this is the sort of mid-tier of cards in Modern Draft. Dual lands in colors that actively want to play fixing. And also like those cards that take it or leave it, you can put them in your deck. Bard's Bow is a perfect example. Wandering Musician is a perfect example. Sort of cards that you're not going to cry that you don't have them in your deck, but you're also not going to be sad if you put them in. And maybe they play some particular role in what they're doing. In terms of... So congratulations to Omashu City and King Boomy, its ruler, for being the most mid-common of all the commons in 2025. Now we move on to the most mid-uncommon. And we have a collection of black cards here somehow. Maybe it's because black was mid, who knows. But we have Deadly Dispute from the bonus sheet in Final Fantasy. Dark Knight's Greatsword, an equipment that gives +3/+0, and you have to pay life to equip it. And it comes with the job select, so, the usual create a hero. Duty Beyond Death, a white combat trick from Tarkir Dragonstorm. You sacrifice a creature as an additional cost to cast it. And then creatures you control get indestructible, and then you distribute +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Hour of Victory from Ether Drift. This is a 3-mana enchantment with Start the Engine. You make a 2/2 zombie, and if you have max speed, you can actually turn that card into a sort of demonic tutor by sacrificing it. Then Jody, one of many from current set. 2-mana 2/2, black tap, surveil 1, create a token that's copy of Judy, and then you have to sacrifice something. Maybe the copy of Judy, maybe something else. Yeah. And another couple of 2-drops. Lagorin, Soul of Alakria, that's the signpost Selesnya uncommon from Ether Drift. 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer. When it attacks while saddled, you put +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target mounts and vehicles, and saddle is 1. And lastly, Sundial, Dawn Tyrant, 2 mana for a 3/3 vanilla legendary creature, one of the vanilla cycle. And as you can see, these cards are actually very playable, because a mid uncommon should still make your deck. They are not like I'm super thrilled to play them, but they're absolutely fine to put in your deck. So far, everyone in the chat is guessing Sundial as the most mid uncommon, but it is in fact Duty Beyond Death that won the most mid uncommon, followed by Lagorian, Hour of Victory, Judy, Dark Knight's Greatsword, Sundial, and then Deadly Dispute. Now, this category is more fun, but it does just show you what a mid-common and mid-uncommon looks like, roughly, looking at all those cards. Everyone here is a winner just for making this list, because they are so mid, and it's not easy to win something if you're mediocre. So congratulations, Duty Beyond Death. You are the most middest of the mid. Okay, so we can move to color-specific awards, and I will give 1 for each color of commons, and 1 for each color for uncommons, plus special 1 for the colorless uncommons. Colorless commons, most of them were just lands. I can give you the spoiler. Serpent's Pass was the best colorless common this year, because colorless commons, unfortunately, in terms of spells, are not up to scratch, and they are just most of the time throwaways how the sets are being designed in recent years. A couple of them were doing better. I think the Barrels of Blasting Jelly and maybe a couple of Nutrient Block or something were in the top 7, but most of them were just dual lands, and this is not very interesting. But let's start with we go in a Wooburg order, so let's start with the best white common, and we have nominations are Banishing Light, which is a Banishing Light from Edge of Eternities, Night Luminary, 4 mana 3/2 that comes with a 1/1 friend, and you can warp it for 1 and a white. Magitech Infantry, almost Whisper Squad from Ikoria, but slightly better. 1 mana, 1/1, it gets +1/+0 as long as you control another artifact, and for 2 and a white, you can search your library for a card named Magitech Infantry and put it on the battlefield tapped, so it can fetch themselves. Mardu Devotee, white for a 1/2, enters Scry 2 and can fix Mardu mana. Ride's End, Constructed All-Star, 5 mana, exile target creature or vehicle. It costs less by 3 mana if you target a tapped permanent. Saltroot Pack Beast, a 6 mana 4/3 that costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control, and when it enters you draw a card. And White Auracite, 2 white for an artifact, and it's basically an Oblivion Ring that's also a white mana rock. And we have 2 people in the chat voting for White Auracite. You feel very comfortable about it. And so you should, because this is the actual answer. 52.7% win rate, winning over Banishing Light and Mardu Devotee, my favorite. And then we have Saltroot Pack Beast, Magitech Infantry, Ride's End, and Night Luminary, all of them pretty quite close, around 51.5. But White Auracite quite substantially above the rest, with 0.7 percentage point higher normalized win rate than the rest of them. So congratulations to White Auracite. Great card, fun to play, allowed to do some things that normally White doesn't do, which means playing like big spells at the top end, because the extra mana late in the game was great. Especially, you know, if you could draw some cards and then cast them almost instantly, it was pretty strong for that. So now, let's go for the blue common. I'm hoping for the chat to be good at guessing this one. But nominees are as follows. Combat Tutorial from Final Fantasy. Draw 2 cards, put a counter on something. 3 mana. Great. Number 2 is Cryogen Relic. 1 and a blue artifact. When it enters or leaves the battlefield, you draw a card. You can pay 1 and a blue to sacrifice it and put a stun counter on target tapped creature. Then we have Dispelling Exhale. 1 and a blue, instant. unless you behold the dragon, and then it's you have to pay 4 mana. Dragoon's Wyvern. 3 for a 2/1 flyer that comes with a 1/1 friend. Such a simple design and such a satisfying card. Then we have Ice Magic, 2 mana, and then multiple modes. Either bounce something for 0 extra mana, or 2 extra mana, you put something top or bottom. And then for 6 extra mana, you shuffle it into the library. Lost Days, 5 mana, Lesson, put something top or bottom, opponent chooses, you get a clue. And Sipsic Appraiser, 2 and a blue for a 2/1, and when it enters, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 of them to your hand and 1 into your graveyard. And the chat, 3 people voted, and all 3 voted for Cryogen Relic. And they are correct, but it was super close between this and Sipsic Appraiser. Cryogen Relic 52.8 and Sipsic Appraiser 52.7. Neck and neck, these cards were just both amazing. And then we have a drop to 52.2, and we have Combat Tutorial, Dragoon's Wyvern, and Lost Days. And then another small drop to 51.7, Ice Magic and Dispelling Exhale. But Cryogen Relic wins it. Congratulations, you are an amazing card. I love you to bits, and it was definitely a winner that I can endorse. But nothing there to not admire about Sipsic Appraiser. And this card, I think that it did surprise how powerful it was after the previous season. I think everyone knew it's going to be fine. Nothing wrong with that card, but I don't think that many people expected it to be as good as it was. Also, I think maybe it's the same. A lot of cards on that list were not probably predicted to be the best blue card in their sets. I don't think Combat Tutorial, Dragoon's Wyvern probably was predicted to be the best blue card in Final Fantasy. But it was not, because it was Combat Tutorial. Lost Days, I don't think was widely touted to be the best blue common. Dispelling Exhale, I don't think it was largely touted to be the best blue common in, one of the best blue commons in Tarkir Dragonstorm. And I'm pretty sure Cryogen Relic was also not the favorite to become best blue common in Edge of Eternities. Okay, best black commons. And here we see a collection of removal spells. And some creatures. So, and some creatures from Aether Drift. Aether Drift is the set. Generally, like almost all the nominees for the best black common are from Aether Drift. We have Cornered by Black Mages. That's not from Aether Drift. That's from Final Fantasy. I know. 3 mana Edict, and you make a 0/1 Black Wizards with the Wizard Ping's ability. Engine Rat. Black for a 1/1 Death Toucher, and the small upgrade on that is that for 6 mana it can make an opponent lose 2 life. Green Bubble, black for an artifact. When it enters, creature gets -2/-2. You can sacrifice it to Surveil 2 for 3 mana. Pactol Terror, 4 mana 3/4. When it or another artifact you control enters, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I always highlight that card from the beginning because it reminds me of Vampire Spawn from Adventures in Forgotten Realms. That one drained 2, but this one always will drain for 1. And like a creature with some power and some toughness that is close to being on rate, that also drains some life almost instantly, that's always going to be pretty decent. And then Sephiroth Intervention from Final Fantasy, one of the 2 non-Aether Drift cards, and the second one that is also from Final Fantasy. Destroy target creature, gain 2 life for 4 mana at instant speed. Then we have Spin Out, 3 mana, destroy target creature or vehicle. And Wreckage Wickerfolk. That one probably... this and Engine Rat, I don't think many people would have thought that this is going to be in contention for the best black common of the year. Wreckage Wickerfolk, 2 mana, 1/3, flying, Surveil 2 at enters. So, guesses from the chat, we have Grim Bauble and Sephiroth's Intervention. Let's see what we have as an answer. It is Sephiroth's Intervention. Raging Goblin this time nailed it. And actually, Grim Bubble is only 6th on the list, although these are quite close to each other, because second best black common is Engine Rat. The humble Engine Rat, the 1/1 Death Toucher with a bit of an extra, good enough to be a second best black common. Then we have Wreckage Wickerfall, Corner by Black Mages. These are also close. Like the difference between the first and the fourth place is 0.2 percentage points, so not that much. Then we have Packdoll Terror and Grim Bubble at 51.6, so 0.4 behind the leader, and Spin Out at 51.3, so like 0.7 behind the leader. All very close, but Sephiroth's Intervention takes it. And dare I speculate, partially because blue-black was strong, but partially because it was also very easy to splash it in some decks, and therefore you could play a good black card in the non-black decks. And I think that black was really the problematic color of this year. In so many sets, black is just not good enough. And I think part of it is that creatures were just not good. And here we see 3 examples of good black creatures, all of them printed in Ether Drift. I think that the design team should invite whoever designed black in Ether Drift to consult them in their future sets on how to make black creature playables. Because I think, and here's a bit of a tangent, but actually that's why we did this data analysis. No one cares about those awards. We care about getting some kind of insights on how Magic is being designed in the last year. I think that the problem is that too much weight in black is given to those removal spells, and they don't leave enough design space for good creatures. And I think that removal cannot carry a color nowadays. It also needs good creatures. I noticed that blue is good in the sets where blue creatures are good, and not in the sets where blue spells are particularly amazing. It's the creatures that will determine their success, and I'm pretty sure that it's the same with black. Removal is important, don't get me wrong, but without support and good creatures on raid, that's not going to help. Good removal is not going to pull the color by its own. Well, congratulations to Sephiroth's Intervention, one removal that could pull the color on its own. And let's move to red. Another sort of poor year for that particular color this year. And here also we see plethora of removal. We have, and here we have a bunch of Final Fantasy cards, and then nothing from Ether Drift. We have Blazing Bomb, 1-drop that grows whenever you cast a 4-mana spell, and then you can sacrifice it to ping something for the amount of power it has. Coldman Chocobo, 4-mana, make a Chocobo, and then you can flash it back for 6, and also you get a mountain every time you cast it from your library to your hand. That card was great in everything that required 4-mana non-creature spells, because it is a creature that is a non-creature spell, and it gives you mana to cast more expensive spells in the future. Great design and sweet card to play. Then we have a dynamic duo from the last Airbender, Firebending Lesson and Lightning Strike. 2 direct damage spells, and by the way, until the end of that list, we're going to get direct damage spells. Molten Exhale, a 2-mana deal most of the time for... you get to cast it as instant speed if you show the dragon. Normally it's a sorcery deal 4. Then we have Orbital Plunge, a card close to my heart. I really like Orbital Plunge in Edge of Eternities. 4-mana to deal 6 and make yourself a lander if you dealt excess damage. With 6 damage, you would expect that you will deal excess damage. And if you don't, well, then you kill the 6 toughness creature, which is also fine. And lastly, we have Thunder Magic, red, for a shock to a creature, or if you pay 3 extra mana, deal 4 to a creature, or if you pay even more mana, deal 8 to a creature. And 2 people in the chat that were guessed Thunder Magic. And it's Firebending Lesson by a fraction of a percent from Thunder Magic. I'll give it to you, Raging Goblin and Tim's Running. 51.9 for Firebending Lesson, 51.9 for Thunder Magic. On the second decimal, Firebending Lesson is slightly better. And then we have a small cliff 0.6 percentage points where we get Molten Exhale, then a bit more down to 51% Orbital Plunge, 50.9 Lightning Strike, Cold Mountain Chocobo, and 50.8 Blazing Bomb, who probably most people, if you would ask them what are the 7 best red commons of the year, Blazing Bomb would not feature on that list, I can guarantee you that. Yeah, Tim, if you see the same number, take the win. Also, grab the wins whenever you can. Because you have to grab those. No one gives you wins. You have to grab those. Okay, but congratulations to Firebending Lesson, who was the eventual winner of that category. Great spell, such a versatility. Also constructed All-Star in current standard. As I said, I'm also playing it in Pioneer right now, because it turns out that the lesson package is good enough to play in Pioneer. Then we have Best Common in Green. And here we definitely will see some impact of Ether Drift. There are 3 nominees from Ether Drift in that category. But also a couple of cards from Final Fantasy and 1 from Tarkir Dragonstorm, 1 for Edge. The only set that is not present here is the Avatar. There are no good green commons in Avatar, turns out. First nominee, Galactic Wayfarer. 3 mana, 3/3, make a lander. Super simple design, but super powerful card. Then we have Migrating Ketradon, 6 mana, 6/6 reach, gain 4, and also has cycling for 4/2. The menace of early part of the Ether Drift season, because you could get them like pick 11. And if you can get a very good card, pick 11, and even better cards, or maybe slightly worse but harder to get cards in the early picks, you end up with busted green decks. Then there's the Piercing Exhale. This is the bite spell, and if you show a dragon, you get to surveil 2 on top of the bite spell, and it's an instant as well. Run Over, another bite spell, but this time from Ether Drift, and this one costs 1 less if it targets a mount or a vehicle you control. Then we have A Little Mouse That Could, Stampedic Scurryfoot, green for a 1/1, but you can exhaust it for 4 mana, and you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and you create a 3/3 elephant. So it's basically 5 mana for a 2/2 and a 3/3, but you can also split it over 2 turns, so you can do 1 and 4. A great card. It was sweet to play around, very powerful, and this was probably, of this list, if I would pick my favorite, this would be the second most favorite that I have on this list in terms of my personal preference. Just behind Town Greeter, because Town Greeter was definitely my most beloved green common this year. Then we have Summon Fat Chocobo, 5 mana 4/4. When it enters, you make a 2/2 bird creature token, and then you get trample to all your creatures for 3 consecutive turns after that, and then it expires. It's funny to see that Summon Fat Chocobo is in top 7, because when you think about it, Badger Mole is just a better version of Summon Fat Chocobo. It's not strictly better, but I mean, it's a 4/4 that is permanently a 4/4, and it makes it 2/2 itself as well. And it gives trample to your land creatures, like sort of permanently. Raging Goblin loves Galactic Wayfarer, and no one can blame them. No one can blame them, because it's also a great card. Actually, I think that it's a pretty solid collection of cards in that green. Ketradon was also one of my beloved cards this year. But okay, who do we think we will win? And I think Tim's running is saying... Raging Goblin is taking Town's Greeter. No one else is trying to guess. Raging... No, okay, you said favorite. Let's see who is the winner. And it is Stampeding Scurryfoot, the little mouse that could. Stampeding Scurryfoot is the best green common of the year at 52.6. Town Greeter second at 52.1. So Raging Goblin not far off you were, and Galactic Wayfarer third at 52. So quite close between those top 3. Then we have Migrating Ketradon, 51.6, Run Over, 51.4, Piercing Exhale, and Summon Fat Chocobo at 51.2. I really like Barchebos with 2 bite spells on the list saying, I'm going for the bite spell. Very smart, but we see what you did there. So congratulations to Stampeding Scaryfoot. Lovely card. We hopefully see more of those in the future in green creature, common creature department. Green also needs some improvement on the quality of the commons. I did some analysis some time ago. I didn't update it for the latest sets, and green commons were just lagging behind in quality with every single other color. Because black at least has excellent removal, and that will always have like a decent win rate. But Green's problem was that most of the green creatures are just not good enough at common. At common, green becomes a pretty powerful color, but at common, they tend to underpower it. No, Barchabos, I assume that you didn't notice the other one. But I'm not assuming that anyone is an idiot. People usually pretend that they're an idiot, and actually there are fewer idiots than we might think. Don't worry, if I think that someone is an idiot, I will make them feel that. Okay, we finished the common part. We have still the uncommons left. And we start with the white uncommons. And here we have where Avatar is shining. There are 3 nominees on the list from the Avatar. A couple of them from Final Fantasy. We start with alphabetically. Aang is very favored to be first. And therefore Aang, the last airbender, is first on our nominees list. 4 mana 3/2 flying. When it enters, you airbend target permanent, and whenever you cast a lesson, it gets lifelink. Sweet card. 4 mana 3/2 turns out it can be good, as we will learn a bit later. Then we have All Fate Stalker from the Edge of Eternities. This is the 4 mana Oblivion Ring creature with a little twist that you can warp it to basically what's it called? To blink something, because of course, if you warp it, it will disappear at the end of turn, which means that the permanent that you exiled will return. A very cool card with many extra uses. Blink was pretty good. Blink was pretty good in Edge of Eternities. Then we have Delivery Moogle, another 4 mana 3/2 flyer. This one, when it enters, you can search up your library and or graveyard for an artifact card with mana value 2 or less, and put it into your hand. And why that card has such a high win rate? Well, I think that part of it is that next card that is nominated is a 2 mana artifact that you can find with Delivery Moogle, Dragoon's Lance. 2 mana equipment, job select, so when it enters you make a 1/1, and equipped creature has +1/+0 and flying on your turn, and equip costs 4. So yeah, it's basically a 2/1 flyer for the offensive purposes, which is not a bad for 2 mana, and then it leaves that equipment that will be super annoying later in the game. Then we have Earth Kingdom Jailer, 3 mana 3/3. When it enters, you can exile up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater until Earth Kingdom Jailer leaves the battlefield. So same ability as All Fate Stalker, but only for more expensive things. But a much better body for slightly less mana. So 3/3 with this ability is unprecedented, that you pay on rate for the creature really, and you get the exile ability at the same time. And then we have Glory Heath Links, 2 mana 2/3 with lifelink, which is horrendous stat line if you're playing an aggro deck and someone drops the Glory Heath Links against you. But wait, there's more. When it attacks well settled, you can actually find the basic planes and put it into your hand from your library, and saddle is 2. So very often you were like, if you could open turn 2 links, turn 3 a creature, saddle links, attack, gain some life, deal some damage, draw a card basically. You were so much ahead in that game. And last, not least by all means, Water Type Rallier, the 2 mana 2/2 from Avatar, Waterbend 5. You can look at top 4 cards of your library and find a creature with power 3 or less. If I would pick a favorite here, I would pick the Water Type Rallier with my eyes closed. But in terms of the guesses from the chat, we have All Fate Stalker and Dragoon's Lance from 2 people. And Dragoon's Lance takes it at 54.7, and quite substantially over the rest. The second one, Earth Kingdom Jailer, 53.9, Ang also 53.9, but lost on the tiebreakers, I guess. Then we have Glory Heat Links, All Fate Stalker, Delivery Moogle, and Water Tribe Rally are closing up that classification. Obviously, all those cards are just great. All of them are stronger than the white commons, than the best white common, which was the white aura side. By the way, what we didn't do is we didn't find out which was the best common altogether last year. And it was Cryogen Relic at 52.8, higher than any other common in the set. Which probably means that Sipsic Appraiser was potentially the second best common of the year and still didn't even win its color combination. But congratulations to Dragoon's Lance for being the best white uncommon. And let's look at the blue best uncommons. And this is a very healthy mixture of removal, vehicles, weird creatures. Actually, when you look at it, value creatures this year in blue were just absolutely amazing. We have Coachcracker Hound, Sipsic Appraiser with a slight upside of having Warp on top of everything. Then we have Gran. I don't have to explain what a Gran does after our last 6 weeks of playing Avatar or so. Invasion Submersible, the Mana War, but a 3/3. Rangers Refueler, another great vehicle with exhaust that turns into a creature. So very much like Invasion Submersible. But this one is a 2 mana 3/3, and then for 4 mana you can put a +1/+1 counter on it. And whenever you exhaust, you also draw a card. So for 4 mana you can draw a card and make it a 4/4 creature. Spikeshell Harrier, 5 mana 4/4 Mana Warp. And also you can slow the opponent down, because it was a joke on Mario. Before we actually get the universes beyond Super Mario Brothers land, with Waluigi being the Chase Mythic or something. Then we have Stock Up. Again, another card that I don't have to really introduce, as it is a menace of constructed formats. And, well, if you open many of those, you are in the money. And Transit Mage, lastly. 3 mana 2/2, and when it enters, you can find an artifact card with mana value 4 or 5 and put it into your hand. Submersible for sure, and Submersible in the chat. So we better check. Is it Submersible for sure? Maybe it's Spikeshell Harrier. No, it is Submersible. It is Submersible by bloody lot. 55% win rate for Submersible, 53.4 for Stock Up, 1.6 percentage points lower. And then we have like a bunch of them. Coachcracker Hound, Spikeshell Harrier, Rangers Refueler, all 55.3, 55.2. Then Transit Mage Gran at 53, 52.8. So yeah, Invasion Submersible 55. This is A range in my scale. I can potentially check it. Let me see if I can check it. Window tiers. Shoo. I can tell you, in all the cards that were printed, in all the 1,485 cards, whereas Invasion Submersible was number 67. It was number 67. It was number 67 out of all the cards printed this year. And, you know, like, things that are above it are probably causing people nightmares till today. I mean, you know the top 8, but there's like Elspeth, Sky Sovereign, Fire Nation Drill, Atraxa, Uruboroid, Quantum Riddler. These are the cards that are over Smuggler Sculptor, Ko, Nibelheim Flame, Legend of Roku, Badgermole Cub. These are the cards that are above Invasion Submarine. Like, just to give you the impression, Katara, Water Tribe's Hope, is slightly below it. And it's the only uncommon that made it to the A grade this year. Last year we had an A grade common. You can guess which one that was. Starts with Writhing and ends with Chrysalis, just to give you... I lost my window now because I was checking something. Damn it. Okay, there we are. But yeah, congratulations to Invasion Submersible for a very well-deserved victory as the best blue uncommon. Okay, best uncommon black. And you see the same problem I told you when we were assessing the black commons. Removal, creature that is a removal, and Gravedigger. That's what we get, and not even a Gravedigger creature, a Gravedigger spaceship. We do have a bunch of Edge of Eternity's cards. We do have a couple of, despite black not being very good in The Last Airbender, we get a couple of spells from The Last Airbender. We have one bonus sheet card, but okay. Fatal Push from the bonus sheet in Final Fantasy. We have Dubious Delicacy. We already discussed that card. Then we have Epic Downfall from the Last Airbender. Fell Grafship, that's the 3-mana 3/2 spacecraft. When it enters, you mill 3 cards, and then you can return a permanent or creature or spacecraft card from among them to your hand, and it is a flying lifelinker if you station it for 8. Heartless Act, Monoist Circuit Feeder, 6-mana 4/4 flying. When it enters, until end of turn, one creature you control gets +X/+O, and one creature opponent controls gets -O/-X, where X is the number of artifacts you control, counts itself. And then side quest Hunt the Mark from Final Fantasy. We also mentioned that card before. Chat, Dubious Delicacy, the food, which means Dubious Delicacy. And you're correct. Dubious Delicacy wins the best black uncommon this year, 54%, just ahead of Fell Grafship. Fell Grafship probably underappreciated a bit. That card was really, really sweet at 53.8. And then we have Side Quest Hunt the Mark, Heartless Act at 53, and then we go down to 52.4, 52.2, Monoist Circuit Feeder, Fatal Push, and Epic Downfall in this order specifically. Cool, so Dubious Delicacy, congratulations, being best black uncommon. How was it on the best removal? Oh, it was third on the best removal, but okay, it lost to Choco Comet and Perilous Snail, so we can accept that. I don't want to give spoilers, so I'm looking carefully not to scroll through the important cards. Okay, best uncommon in red. Here we also have like a bunch of Avatar cards. The red in Avatar at uncommon level was pretty strong. So we have the Cave of Two Lovers, make 2 allies, search your library for a mountain, Earthbend 3, sort of call the mountain Chocobo in 1 card. Then we have Choco Comet, red X, deal X damage, make a Chocobo. Combustion Technique, constructed All-Star, deals damage equals to 2 plus the number of lessons cards in your graveyard to target creature, and you exile it if it died. Iroh's Demonstration, deal 4 to something, deal 1 to everything opponent controls for 2 mana. Samurai's Katana, 3 mana for a job select equipment, so it makes a 1/1 and it gives +2/+2 trample haste. And it's a samurai, if that's an important. So 3/3 haste, when it dies, you can just move it around to something else. Then Terrapact Intimidator, 2 mana, 2/1. When it enters, target opponent chooses, either gives you 2 landers or makes this a 4/3. And they give you landers, so many. LSV famously quoted as saying, "I'd rather die than give my opponent 2 landers." Even though, actually, a lot of the time it was right to give them 2 landers. And lastly, Lightning Bolt from the bonus sheet of Final Fantasy. And here we have the answers from the chat. Easy Choco Comet, the bird, Choco, the demonstration was pretty sweet. Demonstration was pretty sweet, but it was the Choco Comet. 54.2, ahead of Terapact Intimidator and Samurai Katana at 53.3, so like almost a percentage point advantage. Then we have Cave at 53.2, Lightning Bolt at 53, and then Combustion Technique and Iris Demonstration way behind at 52.2. And yeah, all those cards were sweet, but here again we see a certain overrepresentation of removal spells. Less than in black, and there are some good value cards like Cave of the Lover, Samurai's Katana, or super potent aggressive threats like the Terapact Intimidator. The number 2s are a lot harder to guess. Yeah, that's true. Because some of those cards are just so outstanding in their categories that it makes it a bit easier to guess. But on the other hand, we don't want you to be embarrassed by guessing wrong. We want you to have fun by trying to guess. So it may be good that some of them are almost gimmies. Choco Comet rules supreme in best red uncommon slot. So now we end up with green uncommons. And green, in its fairness, as I said, green commons poor, green uncommons normally are quite powerful. So the nominees are Allies at Last, an ally bite spell from TLA. It is 3 mana, it has affinity for allies, so I don't think I've seen it cast for 3 mana. At worst it costs 2 mana, and a lot of time it costs 1 mana. 2 creatures gang up and beat something up. Then we have Glacier Godmaw, 7 mana 6/6, trample. When this creature enters, create a lander, and then landfall. Whenever land you control enters, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance and haste until end of turn. So most of the time when you played it, you try to engineer it in such a way that you play it and play a land, and then you attack with a 7/7 vigilance trample. Very powerful card and a lot of fun to play. Then we have Larval Scoutlander, 3 mana spacecraft. When it enters, you may sacrifice a land or a lander, and if you do, search your library for up to 2 basic lands and put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then it can turn to a creature if you station it. Then Meltstrider's Resolve. This is a category dominated by the Edge of Eternity's cards. Meltstrider's Resolve, green for enchanted creature aura. Creature gets +0/+2 and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. And when that aura enters, your creature fights something. And I think that this is a very, very sweet design for a powerful but simple green aura fight spell that can actually give you some enchantment synergies or something. Then we have Sage's Chocobo, 1 mana 0/1 with landfall. Put a counter on it. Summon Fenrir, saga creature, 3 mana 3/2. When it enters, you search for a basic. Then next creature you cast gets a counter, and then draw a card if you control the creature with the greatest power, or tied for the greatest power. I know from a good source that this card has been designed to be playable in Constructed as an uncommon, so it's clearly pushed. Then we have Traveling Botanist, a doggo that was sweet in Tarkir Dragonstorm. 2 mana, 2/3. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may reveal that and put it into your hand. If you don't put the card into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. So a lot of selection from that one. And if you can cast it early, you can get some mana. And if you are behind, it's a very good blocking body very early. It was really sweet. But actually, when we look at those categories, like, so often there's just not many Tarkir Dragonstorm cards because so much power of Tarkir Dragonstorm was allocated into those bombs. Okay, I think I have to open the door for my dog because he's scratching on the door. If you scratch that door, I'm going to electrocute you. I'm one of those streamers now. I just let you in. Yes, you sit here now. No dog violence here. No. The only dog violence is cuddles. Cuddles, yes. You get a lot of cuddles, yes. Okay, I clicked over. But okay, we can guess now. You have guessed now. So, the guess was Fenrir from everyone, and then Bartchibos goes for Godmo is going to be second. Haha, wrong by 0.1%. Summon Fenrir is first, as you predicted, 54.3. Second is Saj's Chocobo. So both of the Final Fantasy outstanding uncommons in top 2. And Glacier Godmo at the humbling third position, 0.1 percentage points behind the Saj's Chocobo. So pretty good guesses, actually. And then we have Larval Scoutlander, Traveling Botanist, Melt Strider's Resolve, and Allies at last closing up the top 7. And this is the colors, but we have one bonus category. And congratulations to Fenrir, you were a very good doggo indeed. But last category we have is Best Colorless Uncommon. And yeah, 3 of the nominees are monuments from Tarkir Dragonstorm, Jeskai, Mardu, and Sultai. Something I wanted to draw attention to. These are the only 3 of the monuments that produce multiple bodies. The other 2 are producing single body and are not on the top 7 best colorless uncommons list of the set. But outside of them, we do have a Dauntless Scrapbot, 3-1 from Edge of Eternities that created Lander and Exiled Graveyard. Fire Nation Warship, 3 mana 4/4 vehicle, crew 2, 4/4 reach, and when it dies you make a clue. Another vehicle in Marshall's Path Cruiser, a 3 mana 6/5 vehicle with 5 as an equip cost, or you can exhaust it for Wooburg to turn it permanent into creature. And also when it enters, you can search your library for a basic land card and put it into your hand. Tim's running. Monuments were very good. Monuments were absolutely fantastic. They were key cards for this 3-color set. You know, in a 3-color set, you need some good fixing. And the problem is that if you put too much fixing, you will often end up not having enough meat on the bones of your deck. This allowed you to do both. You cast the monument early to fix, and later in the game, once you run out of the threats that you can deploy, you sacrifice the monument and you made some bodies. And that was just great. But let's finish up the nominees list, because we have last but not least Survey Mechan, 4 mana for a 1/3 flyer with hexproof. And then you could tap and sacrifice it to deal 3 damage to target player. You draw 3 cards, gain 3 life. And this ability costs 10 mana, but if it became cheaper for amount of differently named lands you control. So, I think the cheapest I paid for it was 4. It was possible to draft the deck and build around Survey Mechan. It was probably one of the funnest build-arounds of the year, but also made the list of the top 7 most powerful colorless cards. So Tim goes for the Warship, breaking his rule of copying Raging Goblin's answer. Raging Goblin says Marshall's Path Cruiser. Well, Tim. Oh, and Bartchibos says Mardu Monument. Let's see which of the people is right. The winner is Path Cruiser. See, Tim, you should have stuck to copying Raging Goblin's answer. Very close second is Mardu Monument, Bartchibos. So again, the chat proves to be quite correct about predicting those good answers. Keep in mind, colorless cards lag behind on power level. So 52.8 for Path Cruiser, 52.5 for Mardu Monument. Path Cruiser is particularly important. I think that lots of people underestimated the power of the card. I know that when I went for the Lords of Limited Resources episode for Ether Drift, Marshall had his famous vehicle rant talking about how rubbish vehicles are. And ironically, Marshall said that Marshall's Path Cruiser sucks. And then I had to correct him that it's actually one of the high win rate cards of the set. And same card, I went to a stream of someone and they were drafting. I'm not going to be naming there. And they said, oh, this is an empty pack. And I said, no, it's not. There's Marshall's Path Cruiser. And then I got the whole lecture about how this card is rubbish and how you shouldn't be drafting it. And I'm like, okay, cool, I guess, for you or something. But yeah. Correcting Marshall must be nice. Well, correcting Marshall about Marshall's Path Cruiser, that was nice. I don't think that correcting Marshall is particularly nice, but correcting Marshall on his own Path Cruiser was absolutely fun. That episode with Ether Drift of Limited Resources, just for the Marshall's rant about vehicles, was worth it. And obviously, I don't agree with Marshall's rant. And I think that Wizards did the most amazing thing with vehicles that they could, which is the mechanic was problematic, so they could just abandon it and stop printing vehicles. But what they did is that right now, vehicle is not really a mechanic; it's a flavor mechanic, and that's so good because sure. Invasion Submersible is not properly a vehicle, but submarine is a vehicle, so it should have a type vehicle, because if you don't call a submarine a vehicle, then what do you call a vehicle in this game? So instead of that, if something feels like it should be a vehicle, they give it a vehicle type, but often they will give it I don't know, no crew cost and you can turn it into a creature, or some weird things. So flavorsomely, it is a vehicle, but mechanistically, they are sort of weaning off that mechanic, because lots of those vehicles that were just crew 3 or do something, they were just boring and either not good or too good, and it was very hard to balance them. So they went for this kind of flavor vibes solution to it, and I think that's a great idea from their side. Anyway, tangent over, because I've been through enough vehicle tangents this year. Cat wagon, great vehicle. And also, it makes 2 cats. Is it a vehicle, really? The cats are quite a lot. But congratulations to Marshall's Path Cruiser. Despite so many people not believing that it's good, it was actually good. If not the best colorless card. And this concludes the Data Awards. Now we have awards based on vibes. And first we have the big one, the best set of the year. And this is my personal feelings. This is what I honestly thought. So let's go. I'm going to eliminate one of those sets until we are left with only one that was my favorite for the year. So, Ether Drift was number 5 for me. But I don't treat it as a failure of Ether Drift. I treat it more like a success of all the other sets. I had a lot of fun drafting Ether Drift. I think it was a very well designed set. It was fun to play. Some small things that just didn't work for me. Tarkir Dragonstorm, same. I also enjoyed drafting it quite a lot. I like discovering how to make alternative builds in there. I played a lot of the time with Golgari and making it work. I had fun casting big dragons sometimes. I had fun menacing people with Boros. So yeah, but it was just not enough for me to put it in the top 3. Number 3 for me, Final Fantasy. Many people's favorite of the year, but it didn't click completely with me. I understand the merits. It was fantastically balanced. Some card designs were amazing. I think that one miss for me was that too many duds in terms of sometimes you opened the pack and it was just oh my god, what am I going to even pick from there? And I think that blue-red was maybe a bit too pushed, and it was sometimes not fun to play on the ladder when you were in the seat where blue-red was not open, and then you just get paired with absolutely busted versions with 3 Shantotos and Ulthros the Octopus, and you just okay, we're playing a different game. But yeah, great set, and a lot of flavor and a lot of fun memories for me playing Vivi in Constructed. Because yeah, I mean the card should be banned, but I actually enjoyed playing Vivi decks and mirrors and stuff like that. It was a very fun way of spending time. It should have been banned though because it was way too powerful and didn't allow anything else in the format. So yeah. But Final Fantasy in third place. And then in the second place, Avatar. Again, I think that the flavor design of the set should be taught at the university level of how to design flavor and also how to blend magic lore and universes beyond lore in a way that they are synergistic and not an afterthought of one another. So very cool design, and bending was, I think, for me a masterpiece of designing universes beyond into magic rather than forcing the universe beyond down our throats. But that means that for me the winner was Edge of Eternities. Partially because I loved the set. I really liked playing multiple strategies there. I did like the ramp strategies. I did like the big red strategies. I did like the blue-black control. I did like the black-white small creatures. It's also the first set that I worked with the pro team. No, it's not the first. First one was Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy, the Pro Tour was like a week after the set's release. With Edge of Eternities, the Pro Tour was on the last physical possible day of the format, which means I was working with the pro team and I was going super deep in data analysis for those preparations. And because of that, that's probably outside of Ikoria, the set that I've gone deepest into in terms of nuance and how it's organized and what can you do that is maybe not obvious, and then what are the alternative builds of each color combination. I went really deep on that because you work with the pro team, you need to give them a knowledge that no one else will have. Not that they will listen to you. But I did a lot of that, and I found it a fascinating process. And it helped that I also enjoyed playing the set, and it helped that I won like a hell ton of it. So I think I ended like 63% win rate while playing quite a lot of it. So it was all fun. I would like to also give a special mention for the best set. And that would be the special mention to Avatar The Last Bender Omniscience Draft, which was fantastic. I mean, it was the best Omniscience Draft format I've played so far. It's my guilty pleasure, Omniscience Draft. But Avatar Omniscience Draft was particularly good. It had, if Omniscience Draft can kill on turn 1, this is normally not fun because it's just like, okay, who won the coin flip, and that's it. But if you have those Omniscience Draft formats that the win on turn 3, 4, 5 maybe even, these are super interesting because you can build a deck that is interactive and you can build a deck with some plan and thoughts and whatever. And Avatar was exactly that. I spent a ton of time playing it. It was interesting. It was very skill intensive. There were so many little card combinations. So yeah, I'm hoping that there was going to be some more interesting Omniscience format like that. It also carried me to very high mythic, so I'm now having to practice Pioneer because I qualified for the bloody Arena Championship qualifier. Some people have to suffer. But anyway, so this is the best set. And now the last category. Sherkovitz Special Merit Award. I picked one card from each set. A card that specifically I liked playing from that particular set. And then we're going to eliminate them one by one as well. And we're going to get to my favorite card of the year. And the nominees are Honda Network from Ether Drift, Mardu Devotee from Tarkir Dragonstorm, Town Greeter from Final Fantasy, Cryogen Relic from Edge of Eternities, and Water Tribe Rallier from Avatar Last Bender. Each of those cards meant a lot to me. In terms of I enjoyed playing them. I felt comfortable when I had a copy of them in my draft. I've won some bigger events thanks to those cards. By the way, I selected only common and uncommon. I didn't want to select rares because that would be just boring, and also I don't play with them enough. So I didn't have the repetition that I required to truly love a card. Rares, with most people and the volume of drafts that we do, for rares, we can have the impression that we would love that card if we played more with it. But with commons and uncommons, we can sort of get. So yeah, first card I eliminated was Town Greeter. I think that this sort of like links to the problem I had with Final Fantasy. It was all correct and everything was working fine, but I did not have like the love for certain cards. It just there was something on the personal, emotional level that I was missing from that set. And Town Greeter was the closest to that, but that was not enough. Like the other cards on that list, I truly like had a smile on my face when I was able to pick them in a draft. Then Water Tribe Rallier. I really liked that card, and don't get me wrong, I love all of them. And it always felt like I'm playing a different game with Water Tribe Rallier. I really love that decision-making process when I'm playing against someone and it's turn 2 and like, what, do I drop that Water Tribe Rallier now? Do I wait with something? What should I do? And then, when you crack it, it's like, ooh, what will I get? Lovely feelings in my heart. I really had fun with it. And it makes the 4th place. Then Martyr Devotee. Now this card, first of all, personal feeling for that was that before the set was, after the set was spoiled, but before we managed to play with it, I basically hyperbolically called, Martyr Devotee, that's just a strictly better version of Thraben Inspector. And of course I made it hyperbolically because, in the internet you have to make the hyperbolic comments and wink to your audience a bit about it. But I truly believe that it's a very, very strong 1-drop. Because Scry 2 is so powerful on the 1-drop, because early in the game it sets your draw. Late in the game, that Scry 2 is not that different from drawing a card. And also it fixes your mana early in the game. So like if you can play it early, you're going to have a perfect curve out, even in a 3-color deck. Maybe I underestimated a bit how Boros is going to be powerful, but still, Martyr Devotee was also good in Boros. And then, obviously, because I was conceptually prepared to enjoy that card, I also enjoyed it when I could play with it. And I used it exactly as I described. If I had a Boros version with 3 Martyr Devotees, I was feeling extremely happy about it. Also, because some people, I love to be being right when other people tell me that I'm wrong, and a bunch of people tell me, no, this card is crap. And it turned out then to be one of the best white commons of the year, and a truly powerful card. Obviously not on the power level of the Thraben Inspector, but Thraben Inspector is Vintage Cube playable, so what are we talking about? Okay, and then Honda Network is the last card I'm going to eliminate. And Honda Network, personal feelings. I played Arena Open, qualified for the day 2. Honda Network, well, not single-handedly because I had a bunch of other artifacts to accompany it with, but Honda Network was a big part of me going to draft number 2. And then in draft number 2, I again managed to draft Honda Network deck, and I was inches close from winning, but unfortunately, in games 2 and 3, my opponent top deck Sapsunen in the right moment, and I could not do anything about it, and I just died. Which was a bit sad, but that doesn't dampen my enthusiasm for Honda Network. I love that card as a build-around. It was almost an abusable strategy mid-format when people were, green is the best thing, and you should draft green because it's super busted, and maybe green-blue or something. And I'm like, drafting Esper piles every single time and farming them. This is also like something maybe I can do a little soapboxy moment, hopefully not an hour, but a small moment, is that there is this thing when you migrate from a country. I mean, I've been away from Poland for 20 years, and you move out and time stops for you at that moment for your own country. I did not acquire too much of the slang from Poland from the time between I left and now. So I would come and I would sound like some kind of a relic of the early 2000s with my knowledge. And same with the music. I don't really listen to Polish music, so I have no idea who the stars are or whatever, because I'm time capsuled with my knowledge in 2005 when I left the country. And it happens to a lot of people when they are playing a format. There is the first 4 or 5 days of the format when there is a lot of analysis. Everyone wants to have a take. And usually this is where the early data comes out. And then there will be an idea like green is powerful. Okay, green is powerful, we know, in Ether Drift. But draft is also self-correcting, which means that if green is powerful, eventually people are going to draft so much green that it will become basically average. And this is the thing that lots of people cannot cope. It's that they get this message on day 4 of the format, and then they migrate somewhere else with their thoughts. And they stop updating. And they're like me, with their knowledge of 2005 Polish hip-hop and not knowing anything after 2005, which is arguably a blessing. But that doesn't mean that you're a specialist in Polish hip hop. If I don't know anything past 2005, Polish neighborhood in New York probably is mentally locked in 1980 or something. Yeah, I think that it's worth updating those knowledges. Like, who of you knows that at the end of Tarkir Dragonstorm, Golgari was the highest win rate color pair? Because Boros was slightly overdrafted and Golgari decks were so open that you could basically farm people with those counter synergies. Not many of you know that, but most people don't follow that, and there's not enough content incentives to get that word out. But people will still tell you that, it's either dragons or Boros in Tarkir Dragonstorm, where in fact, you couldn't get the Dragonstorm globe for the love of God at the end of the format. So yeah, update your fundamentals. Don't be an emigrant from the format after 4 days of gathering information, because first of all, the first 4 days of information is the most rubbish information about the format, because people don't know what they're doing. Second of all, updating gives you more context than just hoping that what you learned on day 4 is going to stick for the whole 6 weeks. Okay, anyway, that brings us to the winner, and it's Cryogen Relic, a card that is so special in my heart. I don't know how many foil copies of that card, speculating on it obviously, but just for my pleasure as well. I love playing with it in paper. I love playing with it on Arena. I hope that I will play in it in some kind of constructed format at some stage. I've seen that it's appearing in constructed decks here and there, so I'm looking forward to that. It's just does exactly what I want the game to do. Draws me a lot of cards while actually keeping the board slightly in check. Fantastic combination of abilities. I've been talking about it with one of the lead designers of Tarkir Dragonstorm, who was super angry that Sipsik Appraiser did not win the best blue common, because they were trying to push it, and then Cryogen Relics comes in and spoils the party, which is hilarious. The competitions of who designs the most busted common. I found it nice, but I'm so happy to see that the design team is like super stoked to design fantastic cards, so we also can enjoy. I think that's also good to see. But I had a lot of fun drafting Cryogen Relics decks, and I think that it also gave me this like slight level up. I think where if the right lane was open in Edge of Eternities, I knew that I have so much card advantage at a reasonable price that I didn't care that much about lack of bombs, maybe even lack of removal, maybe even lack of quality creatures, because I knew that I will get there on the volume. Yeah, sometimes I'm going to get 2-for-1, but I'm 2-for-1ing you on everything else. Like, if I have to use my 2 creatures to double block your bigger creature, fine. I'm just going to lose them. I'm going to get those cards back with the Cryogen Relic and Nutrient Block combo of some sort. So I learned how I can do the reverse of attrition when I sort of attrition you by outdrawing you on every single step, and those decks felt at times unbeatable, especially in the set with a couple of those hugely impactful common things like Pinnacle Worship, Pinnacle Killship. Because I think that this is the important part of those kind of decks. They worked in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty when you had Imperial Oath as your top end, easily accessible. And you don't need the bombs, you just need 3 Imperial Oaths and you're fine. And it also worked like that a lot of the time in Edge of Eternities when you said, okay, I don't have bombs, I just have 2 Pinnacle Killships. Hopefully that can be enough for me to win the games. I'm going to outdraw you by 5 cards every game. And that's why Cryogen Relic is getting my special merit award. And that's it for the 2005. We can put a seal on it and focus on the new set. And that's why I said I'm going to have a marathon of content creation in the next couple of weeks. Because first of all, on Wednesday, I have a Cube data episode. Because Cube is coming back on Arena on the 6th of January. So I did a very complex but meaningful analysis of Cube data from the last run, trying to analyze how should the deck look like. But again, because I'm not a specialist in Cube, I tried to get a guest, and I didn't try. I'm the trying person. I got a guest that will come on Wednesday, who knows a thing or two about Cube, and goes with the 3-letter acronym. I think you can figure out who that might be. So that's going to be Wednesday. And then on Monday already, we have the Skeleton Crew, because the preview season is a week. So Monday, we will try to churn out some draft skeletons for you. So very busy period for me in terms of content creation. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the awards, and hopefully you're going to enjoy the Cube episode even more. And with that, I'll see you in 3 days already. I still need to make the slides. See you then. Bye-bye.